Alright, for our project we are going to be focusing on the Canadian fashion industry, and today we decided to come to downtown Toronto in the Eaton Centre and talk to consumers to see if they know where their clothes come from.
Do you know where your clothes were made?
Where your clothes are made?
No idea.
Does it bother you that a lot of clothes aren't made in Canada?
Yes. Clothes were made?
No.
Do you know where you bought your clothes?
Yes.
Clothes were made?
No.
Do you know where you bought your clothes?
Yes.
Where did you buy them?
From mostly stores around the Eaton Centre.
Do you know where your clothes are made?
Like what country?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know why you wouldn't know?
No, I usually don't look at that kind of things. I just kind of just purchase them if they look nice.
Were made?
Yeah, mostly. I guess. I think.
Whereabouts do you think?
Well, I buy a lot of vintage, but I know some of the retailers that I usually buy from usually have their manufacturing overseas, over in Asia. Yeah.
Do you know where? So, do you know what companies you buy your clothes from?
Yeah, a variety of different ones. Mostly, some of them are American, and a few are Canadian.
Do you know where your clothes are made?
No.
No.
All right, do you know where your clothes were made?
Made? I think so.
Do you know what country?
They're in between India, Bangladesh, and China.
Do you know where your clothes were bought, like what stores?
Yes, Benetton, Club Monaco, and American Eagle.
Where did you buy your clothes?
What I'm wearing right now, Garage, Blue Notes, TNA, and somewhere in the States. Do you think consumers should be made more aware of where their clothes are coming from?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you know any clothing companies that are Canadian?
Woolrich.
Does it bother you that Canadians don't know where their clothes were made?
Now that it's brought more to my attention, yeah.
Would you be willing to pay more money if you knew your clothes were coming from Canada as opposed to sweatshops?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to pay more money for clothes made in Canada as opposed to sweatshops?
If they're nice, yeah.
So, do you think the brand matters more than where they were fabricated?
No, I don't think so. I think that it's good to shop at retailers that are ethical and know where and have ethical environments, even if they are, whether they're making it here or they're making it overseas. It makes sense to make sure that they have the best conditions for their workers wherever they are.
And would you be willing to pay more clothes that were knowing that they were made in Canada?
Yeah, as long as they're stylish and like what I like, I definitely would, yeah.
Does it bother you that Canadian consumers just don't know where their clothes come from?
Yeah, actually it does. I think we should try to buy local, like if we can. Canadian products are always better.
What if Canadian products were more expensive but somewhat the same quality? Would that make a difference?
You know what, you're paying for, better wages, not child labor. Makes sense to me.
So going local is better than sweatshops?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know of any Canadian clothing brands that are popular?
RW & Co. It's pretty decent, all natural fibers and stuff. It's all Canadian. Very good company.
Roots is one of the few stores that actually carries clothes made in Canada. So 20 years ago, basically all clothes made in Canada, like all the clothes we wore were made in Canada, and now it's like less than 30%. What do you think about that?
It's bulk for cheaper, I guess, for them.
So if clothes were more expensive but they were made in Canada, would you be willing to pay extra for Canadian clothes?
If they're better quality. If they're better quality, yeah.
What if they were the same quality?
I'm assuming they'd be better though because it's not like factory workers. I'd buy them, yeah.
We concluded that most consumers do not know where their clothes were made and are generally pretty uninformed about fashion. They also seem to agree that they would pay more for Canadian-made clothes if they were the same or better quality than sweatshop-made clothes and if they were stylish. So why isn't this happening? I'm talking to Jasmine Davis, who's a second-year fashion student at Humber, and we have a few questions for her. Do you think consumers should be made more aware of where their clothes are coming from?
Yeah, I do actually, because a lot of consumers buy clothes that could be made at sweatshops and they just really don't understand what's going on. They really don't understand, how their clothes are being made and how.
What do you think the differences between Canada's fashion industry and the industries in the US, China, and France are?
Well, Canada's fashion industry, like compared to the US, it's not as big, I would say. In the US, it's much more prominent. They have, a lot more resources, a lot more, I don't know. I feel that there's a lot more available to them there than there is in Canada. There's not a whole lot of Canadian fashion designers, unfortunately, and everybody is moving everything offshore, so there's not being a whole lot made in Canada now. As far as China and France, I can't really say because I haven't really learned about,
Do you think Canada even has a fashion industry?
They do. It's just a matter of how big it is. It's not that big, unfortunately. It used to be a lot bigger before everybody started moving everything else offshore.
All right. If close to none of the clothes we wear in Canada are made here, what's the point of a fashion program? Why take it?
Well, the thing with our fashion program is it's mainly fashion business. We're not learning how to sew clothes, we're not learning how to make clothes, and that's a common mistake that people make. They think that we're fashion design students, but no, it's actually more of a business aspect. So we're learning everything from marketing, promotions, we're learning the business of fashion as a whole, and there is a lot to learn, even though people don't usually think there is, because it is a hardcore business program.
70% of clothing worn in Canada 20 years ago was made here, and now close to none of it is. If something isn't done, what will happen to the industry?
As far as designing, like the designing part of the industry, it will probably become extinct, which is unfortunate, but it's just, it's cheaper for everything to be made in different countries, and it's, it's a sad realization that we've come to.
So in the Humber fashion program, did you learn anything about the policies and regulations of the clothing and fashion industry in Canada?
Yeah, I did. And actually, it's a really strict set of procedures from coming in clothes, especially out-of-country clothes. Everything has to be set on the tag and label. All has to be up to standard and policy with the Canadian acts. Everything's regulated.
Do you think that Canadian consumers should be made more aware of where their clothes are coming from?
Well, I think these days that it's not a big secret that pretty much all Canadian clothes are coming from offshore factories.
What do you think about Canada's fashion industry in comparison to America and France and China and places like these? Do you think we even have a fashion industry?
We're struggling for sure. There's no way our fashion industry is anywhere near the size of what the US is and whatever goes on there. Canada is big on trends, and once the trends fizzle out, lots of people go out of work and it's done.
If close to none of our clothes are actually made in Canada, then why do we even have a fashion course at Humber?
Because there are still many jobs that are made from being a retail buyer. So you can still go out and shop for clothes. It's just you're shopping for them on offshore companies and you're getting your textiles from places elsewhere than Canada.
Can you think of any clothing companies that are Canadian?
To be honest, no.
Okay. 20 years ago, 70% of the clothing that we were wearing in Canada was made right here, and now basically none of it is. What do you think is going to happen to Canada's fashion industry if nothing changes?
I don't think much will change within the industry just because nothing is made here and nothing's produced in Canada. I still think I think fashion's going to become more and more inflated and be more expensive for Canadian shoppers and consumers.
So we're here in my room and we're going to find out what is made in Canada and what isn't. Made in Turkey. Toronto Maple Leafs jersey should be Canadian. Oh my god, it is. Oh, the Gap, made in Turkey. Made in Indonesia. Forever 21, made in Indonesia. American Eagle, made in Vietnam. Made in China, made in Indonesia. So there you have it, about 10 articles of clothing and only one is made in Canada.